in a little bit later. After I do my YouTube, I tend to go back and edit it. But tonight I wanted to give homage to a couple Olympic athletes. I feel the need to just kind of speak on it, so I'm gonna speak on it. And if it sends me down the rabbit hole, then so be it. It is what it is, and that's what it is. So anyway, how y'all doing, folks? Okay. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and get started only because there's a lot going on, folks. And I'm gonna try to make this quick. I had some thunder and lightning outside. It seems like it's ceased, but to that effect, I'm gonna go ahead and try to get started. Wow, I'm on time tonight. But my people, I see my people. I got a couple here. I got a couple there. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I said before. I want to say good evening and welcome to the show. As always, I always start off my show by saying thank you for tuning in on all the things you could be doing on a Thursday night. You choose to be here with me. Um, and for that, I'm truly humble. For that decision, week in and week out, I'm truly humble. My show is called Mythologic. I got something to say. It must be true. It should be called Mythologic. This shit makes no sense. My name is Hank Batiste. Like I said, I have some thunderstorms, so I think we're good tonight. Last week they kind of had me on the rails, but I think tonight we're good. I'm your host tonight, and the voices in my head are amused and pissed. Here we go again. Here we go again. Here we go again. I said again, not again. Um, when I was in elementary school, I went to Phyllis Wheatley, and we had this teacher, or these teachers, who pushed the King's English, and they made sure that we said things like, don't ever do that again, and it isn't so, and what have you. So imagine. Since then, I've broken a few verbs, and I've cussed a little bit. Um, Before I deviate too far, let me just say this. I, I keep saying my Creole powers, my Creole powers. When I see the handwriting on the wall, when I see certain things coming to fruition, I have a tendency to make predictions. Um, some of it is my Creole powers, and some of it is my Creole powers on steroids, combined with the education that I have. Um, I decided to adorn myself. If you're on YouTube, you can see I have pictures of Ali. I have this autograph picture on my right hand side, and on my left hand side, I have young Mr. Cassius Clay. Well, but I am the greatest. People say I'm just too pretty. So growing up, of course, Ali was one of my heroes. And I decided that I would grace myself with his presence tonight because I want to talk about a few things. I had a show that I was going to talk about, the infrastructure, what Congress is doing. I was going to talk about what's going on with these January 6th Capitol assault hearings. And I was going to talk about reshaping the narratives and how some of the Republicans are taking this assault on America, this failed coup d'etat, and flipping it into everything else. And I always say, I have a lot of girlfriends, and whenever they come to me and they're talking about, they're always being accused by this, that, or the other from jealous boyfriends. I never say anything, but it's simple as this. Usually the person making all of the accusations are the ones that are usually the guilty. And they do so to divert attention from themselves and their guilt. So with that being said, I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about the infrastructure. I wanted to talk about a couple things that were happening or that are happening. Because I made some of these predictions back when. Um, but honestly on my consciousness. I write out these shows and I trim it and blase blase, and I go through all of these pains and toils and tribulations to put together a show that's not only newsworthy, noteworthy, but also time conscious. And then something happens, and my I call it my awaken PTSD, because we talk about being woke. Um, it triggers that, and I have to go from that to that, because these are things that um, I feel, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? So since I have the microphone, since I have the time, sometimes I go down that rabbit hole, and I don't know what's going to happen, who I'm going to encounter. So, with that being said, I'm just giving you forewarning. My Creole powers forewarned me of this day. What day? This is the day when the Olympics has an asterisk on it. Why? Without debate, the best two athletes are not being allowed to compete. Let me say that one more time. The best two athletes are not being allowed to compete. And yes, I'm going to say it because they're the best and nobody could beat them. American racism, systematic racism, has gone global. And now the Olympics Committee, like the powers to be here in America, would rather see anybody but the best standing at the center of the podium wearing a gold medal. So this year, whomsoever is standing at that podium with that gold, that tarnished gold medal around their neck. Imagine how they feel when they realize they really didn't beat the best. So if I train at something all my life and the powers to be cheat to give me an opportunity to win, I can't in clear conscience say that I am the best, that I've earned this gold medal. Honestly, if it were me, I would really make a statement. I would take the medal off my neck and I would go to Simone and I would give it to her. And I would say, "You earned this. I may never beat you, but I'm going to honor you for your work." And it's because of people like that that pushes the envelope and make other people better. Um, I think about the University of Connecticut, the Yukon Huskies, the women, they had this long run where they were beating everybody, and nobody believed they could be beat. The same thing with Alabama. Alabama was beating everybody until Clemson came along. And when Connecticut lost, you can hold your head up high because you say, I beat the best in their prime. So I've earned this. No one has given me a gold medal. I've earned it. I beat the best of the best. So before I go down that rabbit hole, I'm going to try to talk a little bit about those other things that I talked about. When I started doing this podcast, I didn't want to make everything say everything is a black thing. You won't understand or you don't understand, because I didn't want it, because my message is an American thing. It's not a black thing, it's an American thing. So when I look at it, I look at it from that perspective. Um, but there are certain times when you play the race card, people stop listening. And sadly, it's not just white people or other people, it's black people too. It's the house Negroes. They're the first to say, oh, you know, you can't say that. You shouldn't say that out loud. You can't talk to white folks like that. Tonight, I wanted to talk about the predictions that have come to fruition. On January 2017, I said Joe Biden should run and that if he ran, he would beat Donald Trump. I was one of the first, if not the first, to publicly say, run, Joe, run. On November the 4th, I told you to expect the Trump thin skins to retaliate and fight back. I had no idea that America would allow them to build to a point where on January the 6th, it would explode in a failed coup d'etat. But that's what it was, folks. So calling it an insurrection, how can you get to the truth of the matter if you don't call a spade what it is? A spade. No pun intended. I'm excited. I'm enraged, and I want to get you incited and engaged. And that's why I do this, folks. But when things like this happen, I kind of lose my way. And you get what you get. So my show tonight is called Shimon, and Simone. And I started to put them together because I'm adorned by Ali on my right and my left. Because when I look at Sha'Carri Richardson, when I look at Simone Biles, I see the greatest of all time. So without any further ado, let's get into this shit. It makes no sense. Let's omit the logic. I got something to say. Let's do it. Back on January the 7th, that night, 9:30 that night, when they decided to reconvene Congress and count the votes, not the votes. When they decided to do what they're supposed to do, when they decided to honor the Constitution and count the delegates, award them to Joe Biden and make him the 46th president, I saw something happen. On one hand, we saw McCarthy, and a lot of times I don't use their names because I don't like to give them oxygen on my show. We saw him talking to Trump and saying, you know, this is bullshit. You got to do something about this. Who the F do you think you're talking to? And then within a couple of hours, he capitulated. He took a knee and he kissed the ring. We saw Cruz say that this is not what we saw. So we saw this sleight of hand. And unlike a magician, they're showing you how they're doing the trick. They're telling you. That's the greatest amount of arrogance that I have witnessed in my 61 years. I know the word was ratified. I didn't want to say that because I felt like it should have happened, but when it happened, what happened should have never had happened. If we'd have had that same show of force, if we had given that same order that they gave during the summer when Black Lives Matter showed up on the Capitol steps, then it would have been ratified a whole lot sooner. So I'm looking for another word. So when they finally did their constitutional duty and counted the delegates and made legally Joe Biden next president, we saw these people start to capitulate. And I said, on January the 7th, I say the coup continues because now we're starting to reassemble. They didn't stump it out. By 6:30, 7 o'clock, they gave at 6 o'clock, they gave a curfew. And then I saw the curfew not being enforced. And I said, so this is how we're choosing to play this game. When we do this, these type of people who stomp on the Constitution, who stomps on the U.S. Capitol, they have no respect. So to use words like patriot, to use any other word other than coup d'etat is a slap in the face. So I made a prediction then. I said, Trump is going to continue to be a thorn in not just a Republican, but in America's side. Because if you study psychology, you know this man is twisted. He's off his rocker. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. So I'm going to cut it right there. I made the prediction. I see it come to fruition. I see it coming true. And I'm going to say this right now. And until America takes a stronger stance, until America stop allowing the Trumpublicans and the Trump-thin-skins to rise up and call themselves patriot and call this insurrection, they are not going to get to the bottom of this because there are too many people that are complicit wearing a congressional pin on their lapel. I was going to talk about COVID. And all I'm going to say about COVID is this. 92.7% of those people that are dying have not been vaccinated. In the past couple of weeks, 3 people that are near and dear to me, and I won't tell you who they are, but let me just say that they're near and dear to me. This has nothing to do about HIPAA. This has something to do with respecting their right to privacy. Those 3 people were infected with this COVID virus. They keep calling it a Delta variant. They keep calling it this, that, and the other. People, the virus that we saw in 2019 going into 2020 was not the same virus. The virus that we're seeing now is a variant, but it's a mutation. That's what viruses do. It's like, and I hate this analogy, but when you use a certain type of poison against rodents or roaches or any type of pest, over a period of time, they start to build an immunity to it. That's what herd immunity is. After so many die, we start to get enough antibodies that we start to inhale each other's antibodies. We start to pass things on, and we start to build an immunity to it. This is not going to happen because this virus is mutating so quickly. As it starts to get cold again, we're going to see another variant. And here's another prediction. And when I make these predictions, I always say, I hope, wish, and pray that I'm wrong. There's going to be another variant. So what's the next one? Echo or Edward? Is it going to be Frisco or Frank? Or is it going to be what? In the Marine Corps, we use a term when things are messed up beyond recognition. We say Charlie Foxtrot. Charlie Foxtrot is the sanitized way of saying clusterfuck. And that's what we're in right now with this virus, folks. So if you can't take it, I understand. But just understand that 92.7% of those that's getting the virus and dying from the virus have not been vaccinated. So it's your life. Play with it the way you want. These three people that were close to me, the youngest of the three, immune system brushed it off. The middle of the three, very mobile, athletically inclined. So it affected this person for a couple of days, like a 72-hour flu, and they got better. The third of those people, who just happened to be the older of the three, wind up being hospitalized in the whole 9 yards. Now, luckily, they all live, but some people might not be so healthy or so lucky. Freudian slip. Let me get back to this thing. That's all I'm going to say about the political blah, 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 blah. COVID, your life, you do what you want. As for me and mine, the advice that I'm giving is do your due diligence. You know what your pre-existing conditions are. You know what your health is like. Speak to your primary care and make an informed, educated decision whether or not it's advantageous. But understand, even if your immune system can take it, you can give it to someone else, your mother, your child, your husband, your wife, your whomsoever, and they may not be so lucky. They may not come out of the hospital. That's all I have to say about that. For as this January 6th commission investigation or whatever they're calling this circus, this Charlie Foxtrot, this clusterfuck, I said on January the 20th, when Lil Amanda stood up there and everybody called me, they said, you're a spoil sport. Why can't you be happy that we're having this moment? Because my Creole powers was like spider senses and they were tingling. And they kept telling me that all that's going to happen is there's going to be more retaliation. And the people that are to blame will never. Brutus and the killers will never be brought to justice. That's all I got to say about that. Moving on. Blacks in the Olympics. Racism is nothing new in the Olympics. America has stood on both sides of it. When we start to talk about Michael Phelps and him smoking weed, when we start to talk about the other guy, and I can't remember his name because, even though he got this, that, and the other, he went down to Brazil and he acted a fool and they got in trouble and he gave this half-ass apology. Racism in the Olympics is nothing new. Usually when you're wearing the red, white, and blue, and it's us over Russia, us over China, especially when it's basketball or track and field or boxing, they applaud you. 1936, the Olympics were held in Berlin, Germany. Jesse Owens ran in front of Aryan race and Adolf Hitler and took not one, not two, but three, but four. He was the first person to get 4 gold medals in the Olympics. He got a gold medal in the long jump. He got a gold medal in the 100, the 200-meter race, and he got a gold medal in the 4x100-meter race relay. He was applauded. He came back here, he was applauded. It's okay. He kind of faded into, he had his moment in the sun. But then we fast forward into the Second World War. We got involved in the war in 1941. So 5 years after this, in 1936, Hitler was just starting to take over Germany and Austria and spreading his Third Reich across Europe. We got into the Second World War, and I hate to do this historical perspective, and on December 7, 1941, they say that Roosevelt knew about the bombing before it happened. But the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor and drew us into the Second World War. Why do I bring that up? Because my mother, two brothers, fought in the Second World War. They wanted to prove that they were worthy of fighting for their country. 1941. When we start to talk about everything from the Tuskegee Airmen, the blase, I'm not even going down that road. You know your history. If you don't, look it up. But 1936, here's Jesse Owens. Because we beat Hitler, he's being celebrated. He came back home. He still couldn't eat in a restaurant. This takes me into 1960. 1960, a young Cassius Clay, right here, showed up in the Olympics and took home gold. Now, legend has it, Ali was so incensed when he got back to Kentucky, and you know where he's from. They call him the Louisville Lip. I'm too pretty. Look at me. Joe Frazier too ugly to be heavyweight champ. I've been doing something different for this fight. I've wrestled with an alligator, tussled with a whale, handcuffed lightning, threw thunder in jail. He was so incensed with not being able to be served. I just came home and I get a parade, but you won't fix me a ham sandwich in the restaurant. Legend has it that he stood on the bridge and threw the gold medal into the river. Now, years later, there's all of this stuff that says that Ali said that he don't know if he lost the medal moving or what happened to the medal. He don't know what he did with the medal. I don't know if Ali softened up, but I'm going to tell you this. There's an old movie called The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. And in the last line of that movie, Jimmy Stewart says to the reporter, these reporters are sitting there and he's giving the actual account about how Liberty Valance died. And when the reporter gets the true news, he tears up the paper and he throws it into the fire. And Stewart says, "You're not going to print the story?" He says, "No." He says, "Let me tell you something. This is the West. When the legend becomes fact, print the legend." So as far as I'm concerned, the legend is fact, and Ali threw his gold medal into the river. He went on and he became Cassius Clay went on and became Muhammad Ali, and the rest is history. 1968. Everybody knows what happened in 1968. It's been incensed in our history. Tommy Smith, John Carlos took a pair of black gloves. One took the right glove, the other one took the left glove, and they stood on the podium and gave a black power sign. This was in the Mexico Olympics. After doing this, they were ostracized. Usually what happens, after you win a gold medal, there's a chance of you having your face on the Wheaties box and you getting these endorsements. Tommy Smith and John Carlos got nothing. They were ostracized because they decided to express themselves. They didn't storm the nation's capital. They didn't fire a shot. They didn't say anything. They just made one solitary gesture of solidarity to those people that were back home. 1968, Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated. Martin Luther King was assassinated. To add insult to injury, not only was Tommy Smith and John Carlos ostracized, but there was the person who took third was this white Australian guy by the name of Peter Norman. Now, Peter Norman didn't raise his fist. He didn't bow his head. All he did was stand on the podium. So maybe somebody expected him to walk away, but all he did was stand on the podium. And they saw that as him showing solidarity to Smith and Carlos, and he too was ostracized. So when we talk about racism, when we start to talk about systematic racism, we're not just talking about white on black or black on black or black on white. We're talking about white on white as well. Now we see Sha'Carri Richardson. This girl if she ever learned how to come out of the blocks, because usually she's coming 3, 4 steps, 4 body lengths from behind. And then 100 meters, she can close that and blow away her competitions by at least 2 or 3 body lengths. So if she ever learned how to come out the blocks first, she would break every record in the book, hands down. This girl lost her mom. And she did what so many people are doing because it's legal in so many places. She didn't take steroids. She didn't take any enhancement. All she did was smoke a couple joints or whatever to get her mind together, to deal with what she was dealing with. And it gave them an excuse to stop this girl from competing. So if I say any prayer, if I get you to say any prayer, I want you to pray that this girl comes back in 4 years, well, 3 years now, and she blows their ass away in 2024 because she was cheated this time. Simone Biles supposedly had mental issues. Okay, that was the press release. Then, if you, like me, saw her interview, she says, yeah, my mental interview is they are angry because I always win. This girl does everything that she can to be the best. Therefore, she should be awarded as such. So, Sha'Carri Richardson, Simone Biles, you are the greatest of all time. Take it from me and Mr. Ali. Folks, I'm not going to get off tonight, but I'm going to get off. There's so many things that's going on. There's so many things that needs our attention. There's so many things that we need to come together on. That's why I don't want to make this, it's a black thing. You just won't understand. But we can't deny what it is. And when these people, these 2 women, are denied a chance to be rewarded for their lifetime of hard work, is nothing short of criminal. And America should be there fighting on their behalf. So if you listen to me in the spirit of Carlos and Smith, fuck the Olympics. I'm out. That's all I got for you tonight. As always, important, I wish you love. I wish you peace. Hair grease. Go to my YouTube page. Click subscribe. I'm going to post this on my Facebook after I edit it. And I might take out the last fuck the hell no, I ain't taking it out. That's all I got for you tonight, folks. As always, important, love, peace, hair grease. I'm out. Good night.